I counted to 11. 11 minutes of letting David parade his new girlfriend around my table, publicly humiliating me for eating alone on Valentine's Day, pressuring the manager to move me to the kitchen section like trash. 11 minutes before I sent the text that made the ocean explode with light. The Megayac that emerged from the darkness had my name in 10-foot neon letters, and my husband stepped off wearing a white tuxedo and the kind of smile that precedes bloodshed. Comment yacht if you need to see what a Korean Mafia king does to a man who touches his wife's purse. But here's what nobody tells you about revenge. Timing is everything, and I had exactly 660 seconds to decide whether to walk out with my dignity or stay and let David bury himself. I chose option 3. The restaurant had that particular kind of silence rich people pay for. The kind where you hear ocean waves through bulletproof glass, where crystal touches porcelain like a secret, where even laughter comes with a price tag. Table 14, floor-to-ceiling windows, black water outside, candlelight inside. My red silk dress looked like blood against the white tablecloth. The velvet box sat beside my champagne, untouched, waiting. 7:49 p.m. Ma'am? The waiter appeared, wearing that professional pity service worker's perfect during Valentine's Day shifts. His eyes flicked to the 3 empty chairs, the single-place setting, the champagne going flat. Still waiting for your guest? The couple at table 15 wasn't even pretending not to eavesdrop. The woman whispered to her date, and I caught one word. Stood up. I smiled. Calm, patient. A smile that costs nothing and reveals everything you're not saying. He's coming. Sure he is, sweetheart. His face said it. His mouth was too professional to speak it. I checked my watch. Counted down. 10 minutes, 43 seconds. Then I heard the voice that used to narrate my life like I was too stupid to understand my own. Story. Babe, this place is exclusive. I called in 3 favors for this table. David's voice shattered that expensive silence like a brick through a Bentley window. Heads turned. The maitre d' calculated whether the disruption was worth the reservation. I didn't turn around. 2 years of that voice. 2 years of him explaining things I already knew, broadcasting his importance at a volume designed to ensure everyone understood how impressive he believed himself to be. Oh my God, David, the ocean view. Younger voice. Brighter. Sharper around the edges, gum cracking between teeth. This is so romantic. Jessica. Had to be Jessica. David only dated women whose names ended in vowels and whose personalities ended after the first compliment. I sipped my flat champagne. Waited. Nora? My name shaped like a weapon. I set down my glass. Turned. David stood 3 feet away in a gray suit that pulled wrong across his shoulders. Red tie, Valentine's appropriate, shiny in, a way that screamed polyester pretending to be silk. The woman beside him wore sequins that caught candlelight like a disco ball having an identity crisis. Pretty in an obvious way. Young in a way that would curdle in 5 years. Chewing gum with her mouth open while eyeing my diamond necklace. But David's face. God, that smile. The same one from the breakup. The one he wore when he explained I was intimidating and too independent, and that men wanted women who needed them. Wow. He let the words stretch like taffy. Still alone on Valentine's Day? That's not just sad, Nora. That's really sad. Jessica giggled, then caught herself, hand to mouth, like she'd burped in church. I didn't respond. Some questions don't deserve answers. Some people don't deserve your voice. David took my silence as an invitation. He pulled out the chair across from me, my husband's chair, and sat down. I'm actually surprised you can afford this place, David said, settling in like he owned the table. Still doing that nonprofit thing? That's sweet. Really charitable of you. He said charitable, like pathetic. We just got engaged. Jessica thrust her hand at my face. The diamond was large, cloudy. Mall kiosk quality insured for less than a car payment. Wedding at his parents' country club, Isn't that romantic? Congratulations, I said quietly. David leaned back, draping his arm across the chair like a magazine pose. You know what your problem always was? You never let anyone take care of you. Always so independent. So, I don't need a man. And look where that got you. He shook his head. Actually tisked. I told you nobody wants a woman who's too much work. Men want someone who makes them feel needed. Someone soft. Someone cooperative. Jessica beamed, puffed up like she'd won a prize. I checked my watch. 7:52 p.m. 8 minutes, 17 seconds. You know what? David stood abruptly, scanning the restaurant. We have a reservation for a table exactly like this. Ocean view, the works. He raised his hand like hailing a taxi. Excuse me, manager. Here's what everyone gets wrong about power. They think it's about who talks loudest. It's not. It's about who talks last. The manager approached with the stride of someone who'd already decided which customer was worth pleasing. Middle-aged, soft around the middle. Thinning hair combed over a scalp that shone in candlelight. Sir? Yeah, hi. David gestured at me like furniture blocking his path. We have a reservation. David Morrison, party of 2. Ocean view table. But you've got someone sitting alone at a 4-top taking up prime real estate. Friendly smile. Reasonable tone. Maybe move her to the back near the kitchen? She's by herself. Won't make a difference. The manager's eyes flicked to me. Back to David. The calculation. Solo diner versus couple. 1 check versus 2. 1 tip versus potential generosity from a man wearing a Rolex knockoff and speaking with the confidence of someone who tips in double digits. Of course, sir. He turned to me, smile not reaching his eyes. Ma'am, if you wouldn't mind, we have a lovely table near the... I would mind. Quiet. Clear. The manager blinked. I'm sorry? I said I would mind. I have this table. I'm staying at this table. David laughed. Actually laughed. Come on, Nora, don't be difficult. You're alone. It's embarrassing. Just move to the back and let people who are actually celebrating have the view. The manager reached for my clutch purse beside the velvet box. Ma'am, if you'll just gather your... My hand shot out, caught his wrist. The restaurant went silent. Not the expensive kind, the shocked kind. Don't, I said softly, touch my things. The manager's wrist was thin under my fingers. I felt his pulse jumping like a trapped bird. And don't touch that box. It's for my husband. I released him. He stumbled back, cradling his wrist like I'd burned him. David's laugh erupted from somewhere deep in his chest. Husband? He bent over, slapping his knee. Oh my God. Nora, sweetheart. Did you hire an escort? You got so desperate you actually paid someone to... Jessica's giggle joined his. The couple at table 15 smirked. The manager looked at me with something between pity and disgust. For exactly 3 seconds, I felt like drowning in that expensive silence. Then the ocean lit up. Blue-purple light exploded through the floor-to-ceiling windows like dawn breaking in the wrong direction. Electric. Alive. The kind of light that doesn't ask permission. The kind that rewrites reality. David's laugh died mid-breath. Every head turned toward the glass. The ocean, moments before nothing but darkness and distant marina lights, now blazed with illumination. It poured through windows and painted everything in shades of sapphire and amethyst. Then came the sound. Low, deep. A rumble that started beneath the floorboards and climbed through expensive shoes, through chair legs, through rib cages, through hearts. My champagne glass trembled. Candles flickered. A woman at the bar grabbed her date's arm. What is that? The rumble grew into a roar. Not violent, just impossible to ignore. The sound of something massive, something powerful, something that didn't care about quiet elegance or Valentine's Day or the feelings of small men in cheap suits. Diners stood, chairs scraped hardwood, a fork clattered to a plate. Everyone moved toward the windows like moths to flame, pressing faces to glass, cupping hands around eyes to see past their own reflections. "Is that a cruise ship?" someone breathed. "Can't be. We're too close to shore. Look at the lines. That's private." The mist on the water cleared like a curtain on opening night. And there, cutting through darkness like a blade made of light and money, was the yacht. 150 feet of sleek black hull and gold accents that caught spotlights and threw them back like challenges. It moved through water with grace only obscene wealth can buy, silent despite its size, smooth despite waves, inevitable as prophecy. The deck was lined with crew members in crisp white uniforms, standing at attention like soldiers, not moving, not speaking, just standing in perfect formation, hands clasped behind backs, faces forward. Waiting. "Jesus Christ," someone whispered. "That's got to be worth more than this entire restaurant." The yacht drew closer. Details emerged from darkness. The railings weren't gold-painted. They were actual gold, gleaming even in artificial light. The windows were tinted dark, mysterious, hiding whatever wealth and power moved behind them. The bow cut through water without a splash, without a sound, like the ocean itself was moving aside out of respect. Then the lights hit. Neon. Brilliant. Blazing across the hull in letters 10 feet tall, scrolling in a loop of red and gold visible from space. Happy. Valentine's Day. Nora, the restaurant went silent. Every eye turned from the yacht. To me. I didn't move, didn't smile, didn't react. Just sat there in my red dress with my flat champagne and my velvet box, watching David's face cycle through confusion, realization, disbelief, and something that looked a lot like fear. "That's..." Jessica's voice cracked. "That can't be for her." The yacht stopped. Not gradually. Just stopped. Like the water had turned solid beneath it. Engines cut. In the sudden silence, I heard my own heartbeat. Slow, steady, calm. A platform extended from the yacht's side. Hydraulic, smooth, expensive. It locked into place against the restaurant's private dock with a soft click that somehow carried across water and through glass. The crew members on deck moved as one, saluting, sharp, precise, military. And then he appeared. Rowoon stepped onto the deck, and even through tinted windows, even across distance and water, I felt the shift in the air. That particular quality he carried everywhere, the sense that gravity worked differently in his presence, that rules bent and broke and reformed themselves around his will. White tuxedo jacket that seemed to glow against the darkness. Black trousers, black shoes reflecting deck lights. And at his throat, just visible above the collar, the edge of a tattoo. Dark ink on golden skin. A dragon's tail curling up toward his jaw. He didn't hurry, didn't run, just walked with that predatory grace. That economy of movement that said he'd never rushed for anything in his life, because everything waited for him. Two men fell into step behind him, bodyguards, tall, broad, black suits that probably cost more than David's car. Each one carried flowers, not red roses, black ones, massive sprays of them, dark as midnight, tied with gold ribbon that caught light. Black roses, the kind you can't buy in flower shops, the kind that don't exist in nature, the kind that cost more per stem than most people spend on their entire Valentine's dinner. Rowoon reached the dock, stepped off the platform. His shoes touched wood. The restaurant held its breath. He walked toward us, toward glass, toward terrace entrance, toward me, and spotlights from the yacht followed him like he was the star of a show everyone else was just watching. The maitre d' at the entrance actually stumbled backward when Rowoon approached. The door opened. I don't know if someone opened it, or if it just knew better than to stay closed. Then he was inside. The white tuxedo jacket made him look like an angel. The tattoo crawling up his neck made him look like the kind of angel that burned cities. His eyes swept the restaurant once, cataloging exits and threats and irrelevant obstacles, before landing on me. Everything else, gaping diners, frozen waiters, David standing there with his mouth open, ceased to exist. He crossed the restaurant floor in 6 strides. Bodyguards followed. Those massive arrangements of black roses held carefully like offerings. Every step Ro-woon took was silent, controlled, dangerous, a predator who'd found what he was hunting. He reached my table. The world narrowed to just him and me. Then he smiled. Not the cold smile I'd seen him use on rivals. Not the cruel smile that preceded violence. The real one. The one he saved for me. The one that started in his eyes and spread slowly, warmly, like sunrise on dark water. "Hello, my love." His voice carried a slight accent, Korean syllables wrapping around English words in a way that made them sound like a different language entirely. "I hope I'm not late." He reached for my hand, fingers warm, calloused in places where a pen or a gun had worn the skin. He lifted my hand to his lips, kissed my knuckles, once, twice, 3 times, while maintaining eye contact the entire time. "Happy Valentine's Day, Nora." Behind him, David made a sound, something between a cough and a whimper. Ro-woon's eyes flicked sideways. Not his head, just his eyes. Cold, flat. The smile vanished like it had never existed. "You're in my wife's personal space." David took a step back. Automatic. The way small animals move when they suddenly realize they're in a predator's territory. We were just..." David's voice cracked. He cleared his throat, trying to pull together some shred of confidence. "Hey buddy, I don't know who you think you are, but you can't just dock a yacht here. This is private property. There are regulations. You're probably breaking 15 different maritime. I own the dock." Ro-woon's voice didn't rise. Didn't need to. It just was. The way gravity was. The way death was. "I own the water. I own the marina. I own every slip, every boat, every floating piece of wood within a 1/4 mile of this restaurant." He tilted his head slightly, studying David the way a scientist might study a particularly unintelligent specimen. "You're standing on my property, breathing my air, wasting my time." The manager materialized from the crowd like a ghost. Face sheet white, sweat beading on his forehead despite the cool evening breeze through the open door. "Mr. Kwan," he stammered. "Sir, we didn't realize you'd be dining with us tonight. If we'd known..." "You touched my wife." Ro-woon said it casually, conversationally, like commenting on the weather. The manager froze. "You put your hands on her belongings without permission. You attempted to move her from her table. You sided with..." He glanced at David with the kind of disdain usually reserved for something stuck to the bottom of a shoe. "This, over the woman who called ahead 3 weeks ago to reserve the entire ocean-facing section for tonight." The manager's mouth opened and closed. No sound came out. "I think," Ro-woon continued in that pleasant, terrifying tone, "I'll buy this building. Tonight. Right now. And the first change I'll make as the new owner is firing every member of staff who thought it was acceptable to disrespect my wife on our anniversary." He pulled out his phone. Actually pulled it out. Right there. Everyone watching. His fingers moved across the screen with casual efficiency that said he'd done this before. Bought buildings, ruined lives, made phone calls that ended careers. "Wait." The manager's voice came out as a squeak. "Please, sir, I didn't know. She didn't say... there was no indication. That you needed an indication is the problem." Ro-woon slipped the phone back into his jacket pocket. "You're fired. Security will collect your keys and personal items. You have 15 minutes to leave the premises." The manager's mouth opened, to argue, to beg, to protest. But one look at Ro-woon's face stopped the words in his throat. He turned and stumbled toward the back of the restaurant, nearly tripping over his own feet. Ro-woon's attention shifted back to David, who'd gone gray. Actually gray. Color. Drained from his face like water from a tub. You're the ex-boyfriend. Not a question. David's head bobbed in something that might have been a nod. The one who told my wife she was too independent, too much work, unlovable. Rowoon took a step closer. Just one. But David flinched like he'd been struck. The one who made her cry in a parking lot and told her no real man would ever want her. I didn't. That's not... She never said she was... married? I finished quietly. David's eyes snapped to me, panic in them now. Real. Animal panic. You never asked, I continued. You just assumed. You saw me alone and decided that meant I was abandoned, unwanted. You created an entire story in your head about my sad, pathetic life because it made you feel better about your own choices. Jessica was backing away, sequined dress catching light as she moved. David, maybe we should... The reservation, David said suddenly, desperately. We have a reservation. I called weeks ago. I have confirmation. You have nothing. Rowoon's voice cut through David's babbling like a knife through silk. The reservation you think you secured? My wife made that. For me. For us. For our anniversary dinner. The table you tried to steal? She reserved it. The ocean view you felt entitled to? She paid for it. He leaned in slightly. David actually whimpered. Every single thing you thought you'd accomplished tonight, every phone call, every favor, every arrangement, was built on her foundation. The silence that followed was so complete I could hear the ocean through glass, the gentle lap of waves against the yacht, the creak of the dock, the distant cry of a seabird. Jessica broke first. I'm going to the bathroom, she announced to no one in particular, and fled. The sound of her heels was like gunshots against hardwood floor. Rowoon straightened and turned back to me. Just like that, the coldness vanished. His eyes warmed, shoulders relaxed, extended his hand. Shall we? I placed my hand in his and stood. The red silk of my dress caught the light. I saw myself reflected in the windows, not the sad, solitary figure David had mocked, but a woman standing beside the man who'd bought a marina to give her the perfect view. The air in here, Rowoon said, just loud enough for everyone to hear, is cheap. He tucked my hand into the crook of his elbow and guided me toward the door. Bodyguards fell into step behind us, still carrying those massive arrangements of black roses. Every eye in the restaurant followed our movement. At the door, I paused, looked back. David stood alone at table 14. My table, surrounded by empty chairs and abandoned champagne glasses and the wreckage of his own arrogance. His gray suit looked cheaper in the yacht's light. His tie looked shinier. Everything about him looked smaller, somehow, like he'd been revealed as exactly what he was. A small man with a loud voice and nothing of substance beneath the noise. The velvet box? I said quietly. Rowoon snapped his fingers. One of the bodyguards moved immediately, setting down his roses, crossing to the table. He picked up the small velvet box with careful hands and brought it to me. David watched. I saw him trying to understand, trying to figure out what could be in that box that mattered. Jewelry? A watch? Some expensive trinket? I opened it. Inside, resting on black silk, was a key. Platinum. Engraved with a single word in Korean characters. It's the key to the yacht, I told David. I bought it for our anniversary. He just delivered it. The sound David made was indescribable. Rowoon's laugh was soft, private, meant only for me. You bought me a boat, Jagia. What kind of husband would I be if I didn't fill it with your favorite flowers and bring it to you personally? He kissed my temple, gentle and possessive, then guided me out onto the terrace. The night air was cool against my skin. The yacht waited at the dock, magnificent, impossible, every light blazing. Crew members still stood at attention. As we approached, they saluted in perfect unison. Rowoon helped me onto the platform, one hand at the small of my back, touch warm through the silk of my dress, familiar, grounding. Behind us, raised voices, David and Jessica, arguing. Her voice was shrill, cutting through expensive silence like breaking glass. A yacht. An actual yacht, David, with her name on it. And you said she was pathetic. You said she was alone. You said... Shut up, Jessica. Just shut up. Why didn't you get me a yacht? We're engaged. Where's my... Their voices faded as we stepped onto the yacht's deck. The platform retracted with a smooth hydraulic hiss. Crew members relaxed their salutes but remained standing, waiting for orders. Ro-woon spoke in Korean. Rapid, fluid. The crew dispersed immediately, moving to their stations with military precision. Within seconds, the engines hummed to life, so quiet I felt them more than heard them. He led me across the deck to the stern. A table had been set, white tablecloth, real silver, crystal glasses that caught marina lights and threw rainbows. And everywhere, roses. Red ones this time, thousands of them, covering every available surface in cascading waves of crimson. You went overboard, I said. You bought me a yacht, Nora. I had to make an entrance. I laughed. It felt good, felt real, felt like breathing after holding my breath for 11 minutes. He pulled out my chair. I sat. The yacht began to move, pulling away from the dock with grace only physics and money could provide. Through the restaurant windows, I could see diners still pressed against glass, watching us, watching the yacht slide into darkness like a dream dissolving at dawn. I could see David too, still standing at table 14, still frozen, still trying to understand how the world had shifted beneath his feet so quickly, so completely. Jessica was gone, probably crying in the bathroom, or calling her friends, or updating her relationship status. In the morning, David would wake up alone with a restaurant bill he couldn't afford and a story no one would believe. But that was tomorrow's problem. Tonight, I sat across from my husband on a yacht I'd bought him, surrounded by roses he'd bought me, watching the restaurant shrink to a pinpoint of light on an increasingly distant shore. Ro-woon poured champagne. Real champagne this time, the kind that costs more than most people's monthly rent. The bubbles caught the light like tiny stars. "Happy anniversary, Mrs. Kwan," he said, raising his glass. I touched my glass to his. The crystal sang, "Happy Valentine's Day, Mr. Kwan." We drank, and the yacht carried us into the darkness. And somewhere behind us, David stood alone in a restaurant he couldn't afford, learning the hardest lesson of his small life. Never, ever, disrespect a queen, especially when her king owns the ocean. But here's what I didn't tell you yet. What I haven't told anyone. The yacht, the marina, the restaurant Ro-woon threatened to buy. He already owned them, had owned them for 6 months. This entire night, from the reservation to David's lucky table to the manager's convenient cooperation, was a test. Not for me, for David. To see if he'd changed, if the breakup had taught him anything about humility, about respect, about how you treat people when you think no one important is watching. He failed spectacularly. And Ro-woon, he doesn't believe in second chances. If you want to know what happened to David's reservation confirmation and why the manager really agreed to move me so easily, drop revenge in the comments. Because this story, it goes deeper than you think. And I'm just getting started.